Fun fact, the average office worker prints 10,000 pages a year. Another fun fact, we spent over 35 years making sure those pages come out right the first time.
Hi there. Welcome to Strategic Technology Partners of Texas. We've been helping businesses with their tech needs since 1986.
We started out with a simple mission to make office technology easier for everyone. Over the years, we've grown and adapted, but the focus remains the same, helping you get things done without the headaches.
Our mission is simple, taking the stress out of your workday, whether it's finding the right printer,
keeping it running smoothly,
or figuring out how to make your office more efficient. We're here to help.
Printer emergency?
Because we provide printers, copiers, and tech solutions for businesses of all sizes.
We actually answer our phones.
But it's not just about the machines. It's about making everything work the way you need it to. Because when your tech works, so do you.
Hello. Welcome to our webinar on a new and important topic, Microsoft Protected Print. This is produced today by Strategic Technology Partners of Texas, and we are going to actually have a guest speaker. His name is Sean Schopner. He's a Xerox workplace consultant, and we're very happy to have him and have all of you that's joined us. You can go to the next page, Bianca. So to get started, we're going to talk a lot about Windows Protected Print today and how overall it does improve the safety of your printers. We're also going to talk about how Xerox is prepared to deal with the new Windows Protected Print, and also about the Windows Protected Print, how it interfaces with the Xerox print and scan experience. We're going to actually see a demo, and we're at the end, if you say it to the end, we're going to give away a $50 Amazon gift card. At the completion of today, also, you'll be receiving emails and various communications about the slides that you saw today, a Windows checklist that you can download to ensure that your office is ready for the upcoming Windows Protected Print change. At this time, I'll also remind everybody that you are on mute, and we will like for you to put all the questions into chat as we move forward so we can make sure and get those answered. Sean's real good about stopping throughout the presentation and answering questions as we go. So without further delay, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Sean. Thank you, Sean, for being here.
Thank you for having me. Good afternoon, everyone. So for those that didn't catch my name is Sean Schepner, and I have been with Xerox going on 38 years now. So I've seen the full print growth from copiers to printers to multifunction devices up to what we have today, which are basically true on and off ramps to print and scan services. So there's so much more than just a printer. The topic today is really focused on Microsoft and the changes Microsoft is going to be making over the next 2 years to the print infrastructure. So before we get into where we're going, I just wanted to cover where Microsoft has been. So if we go back to Windows 2000, Microsoft created the V3 print driver. And the V3 print driver is what most of us are used to using when we do file print and we select the preferences and we see this nice pretty interface, which I'll be showing you today. And you pick whether you want two-sided or what you want. It's a very friendly, easy to use interface. It did have some challenges, and we'll talk about those as we go. But the main one is it requires a lot of admin services to be installed or to be able to install it and to make it run. So, it's got some vulnerabilities built into it. Microsoft has known this for quite a while, and we've been working on it. So in 2012, Microsoft created the V4 driver. And the V4 driver is taking the main features that most people use and building it right into the operating system so that the print drivers don't need to do as much. The drawback was when it first launched with the V4 driver, you had a very limited set of features you had access to. In 2015, we created a hardware support application that would work with that V4 driver. So it basically overlaid the Microsoft V4 with a print application that each vendor could build. So Xerox called ours the Xerox Desktop Experience, and you had to download it from the Microsoft store. And in many cases, people didn't have access to download it to the Microsoft store. Even in the Xerox environment, when we first launched it, I couldn't run the desktop experience on my own laptop because I didn't have rights to get to the Microsoft store. So Microsoft created a server that would allow it to come through a backdoor and you didn't have to go to the store and be able to install it. And we're going to talk about that in just a little bit and some challenges that had. In 2018, Microsoft released IPP print queues. And IPP by nature is a much more secure protocol for sending print jobs down to the device. And IPP at its basic uses Mopria. And if you have an Android phone, you're probably familiar with Mopria because that's what Android phones use for selecting print features. So any print features that were available in Mopria were available in the IPP print queue. But again, it was a very stripped down set of features that you could use if you switched to an IPP print stream. So your print is going to be, the print channel is more secure, but you're limited on what you could do. In 2019, Microsoft launched Universal Print, the ability to not need print servers on site, but to print through the Microsoft cloud. So you could print right through Azure cloud, right down to the devices, if the devices could connect natively to Universal Print. If they couldn't, you were required to run a small agent in the network, which would talk from the devices up to the Azure cloud and back down, right? Most of our devices today in the office environment have native Universal Print capabilities. And again, Universal Print and IPP, when they launched, were just like the V4 driver, very limited on features. Which takes us to 2021. And in 2021, Microsoft allowed us to, again, overlay a print support app. It really is the same as what we call the hardware support app for the V4 driver. It overlays and gives us that really nice GUI featured set where you can look and see what you're doing and select your two-sided, select color or mono. And I'll be showing you the difference between what the current look today is and what the Xerox print support app gives us in a Universal Print or IPP environment. What's really driving some of this? Well, in 2021, just a few years ago, we had the print nightmare. And if you were in IT back then, you struggled to figure out, okay, how are we going to get through this. So Print Nightmare really limited certain things. The first thing Microsoft did was say, quit using V3 drivers because they were most vulnerable, and disable some of the security. And there were some other tools that you could use to mitigate this. On the V4, it didn't have quite the same impact, but it still had some challenges. You know, before you didn't necessarily have to have admin rights to install a V4 driver, but after Print Nightmare, you now needed to have those admin rights to install and update drivers. And the exception to that was if you were using Microsoft point and print driver. It's similar to the workaround we used in V3. And the other piece was it stopped the automatic install of the desktop print app. So we then again would have to go out and be able to get to the Microsoft Store or download it and install it to be able to have that nice looking the nice looking print driver, right? So there were a lot of impacts with those. Now, if you were using Universal Print or an IPP protocol at that time, there were no impacts to those. So that was the big push, was to start moving towards this IP to avoid these vulnerabilities. I mentioned that the automatic download of that app had to stop. Well, one of the reasons that app stopped was if you were in a multi-vendor environment where you may have some Xerox and some HPs and some other brand of device, what we saw happening was when it was downloading those printer support apps, the files were getting mixed together. So you might say, okay, I'm going to print to a Xerox. And the next thing you know, the look and feel of your driver look like a Canon or an HP. Or if you were going to print to a Canon, it might look like a Xerox. So there were some files that were getting mingled together that shouldn't have been. So Microsoft decided to shut down that metadata server permanently, and they created a new way to push those applications down. And that is when Xerox launched our new print and scan experience app, which is our PSA. It's our driver. I'm going to show you that live today when we're finished with a few more slides. In September of 2023, Microsoft announced this new modern print infrastructure they were headed to. This is when they decided that, of course, they knew security was important, but now they feel that security is so important that we are going to go away from the V3 and V4 driver and make IPP as the default printing protocol. Right, there's a time frame, and I'm going to go over that, but we're going to step into it slowly. But as we move forward, you can expect to need to move to an IPP print infrastructure, right? V3 drivers are very vulnerable, and that becomes a challenge. IPP is the most secure print protocol we have right now. So we're going to be focused on that. And then the big one, Microsoft protected print mode. So this, if you're running any Windows that have been updated since the second half of 2024, you're going to see it in your print settings. It's off by default today, and you probably want to leave it off for a little while longer. But if you were to turn that on your workstation or print server, it's going to automatically remove all V3 and V4 printers from that device. So you may think, oh, yeah, I want protected print, and you turn that switch on without reading the warnings, and the next thing you know, all of your existing print cues are gone. So that's going to be a challenge, and we've already seen multiple customers who have turned it on and called us thinking that my printer's broken. You know, something happened. Well, what happened was they turned that switch on and wiped out their print drivers and print cues right off their workstation. It's likely that we will see that turn on by default in 2027. By 2027, we'll see that being turned on as their default, right? And that's also going to may also apply to print servers. So we just need to be aware that when you're doing updates later on, make sure you're reading your release notes to make sure that if you haven't already moved to IPP print queues and you load a patch that turns this on, it's going to wipe out your print queues. So here's the timeline today. So this has already been pushed. So, you know, we don't know how firm Microsoft is, but it's pretty firmed up now that these dates are going to stay. It was, the first date was originally going to be July of 2025, but they've pushed it to January of 2026, waiting for end of life for Windows 10 in October. So starting in January, no vendor will be able to build a Microsoft certified driver for any new devices. So if Xerox launches a new device in 2026, we will not be able to build a new print driver for it. You will have to configure a IPP print queue and use the new PSA, the print support app, for all the print features on those devices. And it's the same with every print vendor that's going to be using Windows. Okay. So this is going to have a huge impact for our global print driver, because today our global print driver can drive all of the Xerox devices, and it can even print to non-Xerox devices in what we call basic print mode, which means if I load a single print driver, the global Xerox print driver, and I have a mixed fleet, I could print to all those HPs, and I can select color or mono and two-sided, one-sided. You can do some of the very basic settings using the Xerox driver, right? But if you build a new device, it's not going to recognize it. And what it would do is it still could print using the global print driver, but it will default to that basic print mode because it won't recognize, they won't allow us to have it recognize a new product. In July of 2026, they're going to modify the behavior so that when you do add a new printer, the default will be an IPP print queue. And all your, instead of having drivers updated using a Windows update or manually updating your print drivers, it's going to automatically update your PSA using the IPP protocol. So once you install that print queue, it's going to know, hey, this is a Xerox. Go get the Xerox PSA and load that up. And you'll see what it looks like when I show it in just a minute. And starting in July of 2027, we will not be able to do any updates to our existing print drivers. So between now and 2027, we can update our driver and add any new features or make any changes to it for existing products. But as of 2027, unless it's a exception made by Microsoft for a security issue, there will be no updates to the V3 and V4 print drivers. So what's that really mean? Well, it really means V3 and V4 drivers will really go into a sustainability or a sustain mode where no changes will be made. You may have some legacy applications that require you to continue to use V3 and V4 print drivers. There are some applications built out there and they're not doing the updates to it, but you may still be using some that require you to use a V3 or a V4 print driver. If that's the case, make sure that nobody ever checks the box for protected print, because it would wipe those drivers out for you. And you can continue to use those applications as long as the application doesn't update to the point you need to update a driver, because again, there will be no updates for those existing drivers. All the money and R&D will be focused on keeping the print support app up and running and adding new features there. I'm going to show you ours. I don't know exactly where all the other vendors are. From what I understand, all vendors are working on these. And, Xerox has been working on ours for quite a while and has added multiple features that you'll see, including a few like being able to remove blank pages and merge documents in a print job. Again, I can demo some of these items. If you have a solution like PaperCut or Xerox Workplace Cloud or Suite, Ysoft, Printer Logic, if you're already using a print management software, we recommend that you check with your vendor to see what their strategy is and how they plan to move forward with the IPP printing inside of their solution. Make sure they're going to be ready for this as well. Our PSA, our new version of what you would look at as a print driver, ours is so much more than that. 8.5 launched in August of 2024. This was an update from where we were. We created this when they shut down that metadata server that was pushing those out. Again, it added some really key enterprise features like, intelligent rotation. So if you printed a document, a picture, and it knew the picture needed to be printed landscape, it will automatically landscape that document. You can do job offset and print with common access cards. So all of that was added. I mentioned the removal of blank pages. The solution also can work with our XML tool, which means if you want to default your print driver for all users, you can use an XML file, create your queue the way you want it with whatever defaults you want, and create an XML file and push that out to make sure that all the users have those as the defaults. All right, so that's great that we have that in this solution. We've had it in the V3 and V4, so it still exists in the new solution. And we added some scanning enhancements in our print and scan experience, so you can do password protected PDFs. And in May of 2025, we released the 9.0 version. And this makes it really interesting because now when I do file print, I can either just have it go directly to the device, or I can have it come up in a print preview where I can look at it. I can rearrange the pages of the job. I can delete pages out of the print job if I don't need to print all of the pages. I can even browse out, add another file to that print job, merge the two together, and then send it all as one print job. So there's a lot of functionality that you have in the interactive preview piece, along with another toolkit option, which allows us to take a print job or a scan job and move it into other applications like Xerox Workflow Central. So I could do a print preview, look at my print job and say, you know what? I want to take this print job and translate it. So if you have a Workflow Central subscription, you can just drag it over to the translate button. It will automatically translate that into whichever language you wanted to translate, or redact it, or protect it, which means I can say, you know what, you have access to this document. If I scan it and send it out as a scanned image, you have access to this document for 3 days or 7 days or 30 days. But after that, you can't access this document anymore, or open the document anymore. So there's a lot of features inside of this tool that are going to be a huge benefit. It's going to mean that some of the tools that you rely on Adobe for, you may not need, which means you may not need to pay for an Adobe license for every user, right? Some of the newer features in 9.0, signatures. You can add signatures, and when you add the signature, it will snap to the line, which means before you could put a signature in, you had to drag it and get it close to the line. The solution now recognizes where that line is, and it will snap your signature so that it lines up on the signature line where you're trying to put it, right? So some great features here. I'm going to go through 1 or 2 more slides, and then we'll stop, take some questions, and I'm going to go right into a demo and show you all these features. So what are the limitations with this new solution? It is new, right? So we're expecting to see some advances in it over the next 2 years as we move to it, and that's why Microsoft has chosen a staged approach. So point and print support exists today for your IPPQs, but there's some limitations. You have to make sure you're reading all the release notes to see what those limitations are. They're planning on addressing more of these limitations in Server 2025, and then with some Windows updates that will be coming out. One of the things that we're going to see that does not exist today, it's a limitation today, is the ability to manage these print queues in a fleet. So if you have multiple print servers or workstations, you'll be able to manage the entire fleet, set your defaults for all of your queues, and then push those defaults out so that you know if this is the way you want one printer set up, you could push those out to your entire fleet of devices. In a small environment, it may not be as important, but in an enterprise environment, it's very important. And lastly, GCC, that's the government community cloud. So if you think about using OneDrive today, where we share OneDrive, and the Microsoft fleet of, or suite of tools and repositories, the government uses a set just like it, but in a higher security cloud. And today, printing through a universal print queue from that cloud is not supported. But it's going to be worked on, and it's going to be coming. Now, can it be done? Well, we're doing it multiple times today. It just requires a VPN from the cloud down into a remote site. One of the benefits is using our existing print drivers, even though you may not have an IPP print queue. In our existing print driver, we can set up encryption so that your print job is sent encrypted from the remote workstation in a GCC cloud all the way down to the printer before it's unencrypted on that particular printer. So yes, we send secure jobs from those GCC high cloud, but not through universal print today. So I'm going to stop here and see if there were any questions in queue.
Okay, Sean, so far I don't see any questions at this point. If you have a question, just type it in the chat. We'll be glad to read it for you and see if we can get you an answer.
That's great. Thank you. So what I'm going to do is right now I'm going to show you what we're used to seeing for a print queue. So if I'm in a document and I'll be sharing this document with you, or we will as a group here, we'll be sharing it at the end of this. And I come down here and I select my Xerox C415. This is a global print driver. This is a V3 version. So I'm going to select this. And what we see here is the actual application portion. So I can do some of my settings. I can tell it I want to do two-sided, flip on short edge, or I can do portrait or landscape. I can change the size. I can pick my paper. I can change how many prints. So this is what we consider an application view. But if I want to see the actual Xerox print driver, I click on Properties. And from here, I see the print driver. Now, Xerox uses a bidirectional print driver, which means it knows what device I'm printing to. So even if I use the same print driver and I were to aim it to a Altalink 8200, which is a larger, floor standing device, I would see that 8200, an image of the 8200. And if that 8200 had a high cap feeder, I would see a high cap feeder off to the side of the device. If it has a finisher, I would see a finisher off to the side of the device. So it's bi-directional. It knows what it's looking at and what it's pointing to. And you can see I don't have finishing here because my desktop device doesn't have a finisher. If I were to point this to a device that had a finisher, I would have finishing options here to the left. So from here, I can pick my paper. I can change my settings, do whatever I want. I can select secure print from here. I can select sample sets from here today. And that's going to be one of the changes. And same with fax. So if my machine had a fax, I could actually send a fax from my print driver. Some of those features do not exist in an IPP print queue today. So there are going to be some things that have to be developed over the next few years. If these are features that you want to use before you change drivers, you need to make sure you know that. And we'll highlight some of those. And my document that I'm actually on right now has a chart that shows you what's included and what's not. From the driver, I can also see the status of my toners. I can see a lot of information about the device, my paper sizes, and everything else. I can also set some presets. So if I want to build a print job and say, I want this to be a two-sided, if I had finishing, I can set it to monochrome, and I could save those defaults. I'm going to show you how we do that with the new version as well as if I'm concerned about sustainability, we can tell you that, look, enable these features for your most sustainable print. So we can do all of this information in this driver. Right? I can do image options and change a lot of things. So this is our V3 driver. Now, if I were to take that same document and just select my IPP print queue, and I always tell people that whenever this PC that I'm on is in a demo and on WebEx, everything slows down. So just be a little patient here. It'll pop up in just a second, and you'll see the look and feel of the PSA, the printer support app, right? So this is the printer support app. As you can see, I still have the ability to do secure print. I still have the ability to select paper trays. I still can do two-sided, single-sided. It's very visual. So if I say I'm going to do two-sided, you can see that this is two-sided. If I want to flip it and say flip it on short edge, you can see that the default is here. And it's two-sided, single-sided, right? So I can tell it I want it monochrome. You'll see visually what it is. So all the features that were there are still in this layout, right? I mentioned our sustainability. So in this driver, it's called Earth Smart. So when I hover over it or click on it, you'll see some of those changes. They just popped up and went away. There we go. So here are those same settings. So everything we were doing before, we can still do in this driver for the most part. Again, I'll share some of the settings that we can't do. Some features that are a little unique from here. If I click on this top, I can do some personalized settings. So if I want to not see some of these settings, I can hide them. If I do booklet creation all the time, I can say show booklet creation so that it automatically shows in my list. So these are a lot of settings that you may not see or you want to move around. So I can actually grab these and move that on where it is in my list so that when I say done, you know, those pieces moved up higher in my list of features. So there's a lot of functionality inside of here, along with, if I click on this button, I can save settings. Remember, I told you in the other driver, I could set up defaults. So this is the same thing. I told it, with this one touch, I said, I want my print job to be monochrome, single-sided, always tray pulled from tray 1. Right? So this is just one I've created. If I want to create another one, I just set up all my defaults and tell it save these defaults as a one touch. So a lot of functionality inside of this. So I'm going to say okay here, and I'm going to then be able just to print this out. I'm not going to print it because I don't need to waste the paper, but this is how your print experience is going to change. Just the look and feel is going to change. However, not only, I mentioned before that we have this new scan experience along with it. So when it launched, loaded the PSA for printing, it also loaded the Xerox print and scan experience. And this is what it looks like. So I can see my printers that are set up. I can see that IPP print queue. I can see a V4 print queue. I can see a V3 print queue. So I have all of these set up. This is a little 315 monochrome device I have. And from here, I can just say, you know what, I'm in this. I want to print a document. So, you know, just come out here, grab a document, say, okay, open it up, and I can submit this print job to the device. If this had been multiple pages, I'd be able to change the order of the pages and everything else. This is where I would see my print preview. So it's really a very intuitive workflow that you can do. When I scan, I just load my documents in my document feeder, click scan. It's going to bring those documents over to me. And then I can, again, save it, rename it, merge documents, do a lot of different things. So I have access directly to Xerox Workflow Central, which is what I mentioned before. Provides 10 different apps, from redaction to converting documents from a PDF to Office documents. It is an option that you can subscribe to if you want to use those features, but it's a link directly from here. The document toolkit I mentioned earlier, I can click on that. Again, I'll grab that same document. Maybe I should have grabbed a multi-page document. But from here, if I wanted to add pages, I just click add pages, go browse, grab another file. It will add those pages to this document. Once it does, I can rearrange the pages, delete pages I don't want to print, and then send that out to print. Or I can pick one of my, I can print it, or I can select my one-touch button that I created earlier. I can straighten the document, crop the document, sign and date the document, use highlighters and mark up the document before I print it. So there's a lot of functionality, again, that you'll have strictly by setting up an IPP print queue, having the system download the print and scan experience, and you'll be ready to go. Right? So what I'm going to do is I am going to stop there and see if there's any questions yet.
Not yet.
Okay, so the last couple things I'll tell you is if you're having questions about your device, so I'm on a 415 and maybe I have an issue with it right now, I can click on the support center and get some help. Look up and say, I've got this problem, and it may give me some help and ideas of what to try to fix it. If I need to order supplies, depending on my supply program I'm on, I can click on this and I may be able to order my supplies, see my queue, see my device status. This is nice because I could see this is my regular driver, but I could see everything about the device from here. Even jump directly to the web page of the device if I was IT and make changes on setup for this particular device. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and stop. I'm going to go back to this document that I mentioned I'm going to send. So I covered a lot so far. What I wanted to show you now is for a review, we will make sure that you get this document. This document talks about the Windows print transition. It's going to show you the timeline that we talked about. It's got the two images that we discussed, the current print driver versus what the new look and feel will look like. There's some links to learn more from here. This is a great document to learn more about everything in. So here it talks about the modern print profile. If you want to read more about the print nightmare, see the differences between setting up your driver and different devices. The Earth Smart piece that we discussed. And here's the piece that I think is very important. So this is going to show you all of the features that currently are available in our global print driver, what most people are using today. This column shows what you would have if you just had the Microsoft IPP class driver without using any print and scan experience. And then this one shows you what we have with the print and scan experience. So some of the things you see way over here on the right side are things like today I can select fax in my driver, and in the new version, I can't select fax either with or without the PSA. You know, some of these things have to be added, annotations. Some of these things will have to be added as we go through. But it's a great document to have. So we'll send this out. It's going to share with you what it looks like in a print server, an IPP shared environment, if your queues are all shared on the print server, and what universal print looks like. And at the very bottom are some additional links for even more information on Mopria, on global print driver, different types of Mopria scanning. So some great information. Here's the information on the Windows protected print mode if you want to learn more. So again, I'll stop here, ask if there's any questions, and if not, I will turn it over to Carla to see who is going to win a gift card.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sean. And we appreciate your attendance today for Sean's presentation. It's such an important topic, and we know that it's going to impact everyone in the upcoming few years. So Bianca, if you want to go to the next slide, then we'll go ahead and have some kind of closing comments and then wrap it up with the drawing for the gift card. Perfect. So just a reminder, we're going to be getting information out to everyone that signed up to attend the webinar today. You'll get the free checklist about being prepared for the conversion to Windows Protected Print. We're going to send you the presentation from today, plus the document that Sean just was reviewing and showed to you. I would say that we've already had one customer who actually turned on Windows Protected Print. It was inside their print settings of their Windows operating system, and it did delete all of their printers, and they thought their printer was broken, just like Sean said. So definitely an important topic, and we'll all be paying close attention to it as the years go by. So at this time, Keith, I'm going to go ahead and ask you to spin the wheel, and let's see who the lucky winner of the $50 Amazon gift card is today.
All right, so I took everybody that doesn't work at STPT, and Sean, sorry, and put them into a random number generator, gave them a number, and our lucky winner this time is Alexander Cloud.
Oh, congratulations, Alexander. We appreciate you're a great customer, and we will get you that gift card. I have your email address, so we'll be sending that over to you. And then again, thanks for everybody for being a part of our educational webinar. We will have this out. Bianca can go to the next page. We'll have it out so you can rewatch this if you'd like, or share it with someone on our YouTube channel. Always look for us on Facebook, LinkedIn. There's a contact email there. You can also visit our website, which has a great learning center. We post blogs at least 3 times a week and put out a couple of YouTube videos every week with great how-tos, and all of the information that we've kind of talked about today will also be listed there. So thanks again for attending, and everybody have a great rest of your day.